My speech will be on definitions, counterplan, anthro, and then an underview. So the FDA itself says it does not require animal testing except for color additives. Check out the citation we both posted. The point at which she changes her definition of required to mean de facto, which my source says serving a function without being legally established rather than required by law as she initially defined it, means that she loses around for having a shifty plain text that makes it impossible to know what she's defending and hard to base a negative strategy on. In my first speech, I said that changing definitions would be an indicator of acknowledgement of a bad debate, and since she didn't contest this, you can vote negative on education and competitive equity because she changed her definitions. And so I'll concede that human testing is good because they can elect to stop it. That means that if she gets access to humans in her scenario, then that's fine too, because it weighs against both of us equally, and so other things in the round should be evaluated. So her new definition of what an animal is means that her alternative of human testing is defined as animal testing because humans have a central nervous system and are sentient beings. And so she doesn't get access to any kind of testing within a living organism. This also shows how important having clear definitions to start the debate with is. And so onto the counterplan. She says it is expensive to test, but just because something is expensive does not mean it's ethically the most ethically sound. And she didn't say that. And she said that this round should be based on ethics. And I didn't know it was ethical to say I can't treat you because you don't have an arbitrarily valued paper. She didn't make a trades off with argument, so you can't give this any weight. And she says I didn't provide an actor. If you assume normal means, this would be pretty hard for me to get out of. Since my counterplan includes banning testing on some animals, it's safe to assume that we'd have the same actor so there's no abuse. She says I have no statistics on actual lives saved. There's logic. If trans-species applications of medical testing kills X number of humans, if you were to reverse this and apply trans-species applications onto animals, it would probably kill the same number. So on the anthro argument. So she says that I'm anthropocentric and that's bad, but one, she didn't give a warrant to why I was how I was anthropocentric. Two, I said that lives of all kinds of living organisms to be saved was good, so I'm not anthropocentric. And three, she's probably the most anthropocentric. She requested that this round be evaluated in terms of human ethics, and you see this leads to loss of animal life when in her first speech she says that trans-species testing hurts humans, so we should make trans-species testing hurt animals instead by eliminating the option for them to have interspecies testing and completely disregarding my points about how animals will die as a result of testing on humans being applied to animals. So this argument still stands. On the counterplan solvency, all she has is that it's not ethical because we test on the disenfranchised. I fixed this earlier when I conceded that human testing is fine and it probably would weigh against both of us equally. So the only things she has against my counterplan for her last speech are cost and ethics. Since I have defense mitigating both of those and she concedes the ability to solve, you should vote for the opposition. Her alternatives are bad because they simplify the body to single cells or test tubes, so the same problems will come up as with trans-species testing. Because she refused to engage with my warrants, there's at least a risk that this is true. And since she's adamant about having someone else agree with my logic, I've cited a source below. Debate should be judged on whether or not the arguments interact and make sense, not whether someone has said them before or not. And so ultimately what this round comes down to is who does the most good for the most number of living organisms. Her anthropocentric mindset is shown in her logic. She says trans-species testing kills, so don't allow it on humans. Instead, allow humans to have intra-species testing and have trans-species testing on animals. This inherently values human life over animals. The mindset means that even if banning all animal testing, like her plan proposes, has like these wonderful impacts that outweigh the counterplan, because of her mindset, this means that animal abuse will perpetuate itself because animals are always seen as less than and subject to violence. And I think that the counterplan is great. The only arguments she has against this are cost and ethics, and I've already proved how I'm ethical and that cost shouldn't matter in the ethical framework that she proposed and then attacks with her anthro argument. So this means that the ability of the counterplan to actually solve is untouched. This means that I solve for her impacts with the net benefit of not having a species mindset and not forcing trans-species testing. Her alternatives can't solve because they don't take into account the complexity of living organisms, and she didn't contest my warrants, so this argument stands. And for all these reasons, I am proud.